Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. One thing you'll notice is after that major sell-off in the previous session, price was able to reestablish acceptance back up at the day's midpoint and even close the day with a gain. That's a significant rejection on that low. That's a significant strong low that we can then work off, very similar to the one we had back here. Midpoint retest and bounce. We could see a similar idea here where this thing is sitting right on top of the midpoint. This early pullback could be a buy the dip for a checkmark trend day higher today, and if that idea works out and we do close back above the day's open or even through the last session's highs, then we likely see a continuation up as well. You see, this high to this low gives us a current key range, and we could be looking at a midpoint bounce back toward about 4480 to 4500 at the very least. That entire bullish idea fails if price cannot hold that midpoint by the end of the session. So if price starts to give up that midpoint here, 4320, at some point this morning and can't really stay above it, or if we're trading way down here and closing lower through that midpoint by the end of the day, that would be a significant failure, very similar to what happened back here, and that could lead to another round of weakness. But as of right now, we've hit the midpoint of the year and bounced. We've hit the previous year's closing VWAP and bounced. We hit the 100% target of this key range and bounced. And we also took out these recent lows here and nearly reached the 4200 level. So all of those are very, very good things right now. The early pullback this morning is an opportunity here to push this thing higher toward 4500. In the best case scenario, price would close beyond that level for a push higher. But again, we'll see if the next near-term bounce leads to another round of selling, very similar to what happened last time. We also have Fed Chair Powell on deck tomorrow. FOMC statement and the Fed rate decision is Wednesday afternoon. That's going to give us another FOMC key level. But as of right now, as long as price can hold above the previous session's midpoint here today, we could be looking at the next several days higher. Let's take a look here at the NQ. For all the bullish reasons that the ES may go higher, the NQ is the same here. We've gotten a move through the previous year's midpoint, the previous year's closing VWAP there. We even hit the closing S1 right at 13,700 and then bounce. It took out 14K for the first time in a long while since the first half of last year. And again, from that impulse sell-off, 16K to 13.7, we may see a bounce back up that takes us toward 14.8, 14.9 here, and that'll give us a new key range. Can we get ourselves a new key range from that impulse sell-off over the last 8 days? Can we bounce back here, get ourselves a new key range, and now have great boundaries here moving forward? From that key range, by the way, a 16 breakthrough 1600 for an upside target there puts you at 18.3 down the road. So that could be a tremendous upside target just based off this impulse sell-off sometime down the road. And as we know, if we're able to get that key range, perhaps a trap below the key range low could be in play for an ultimate move across the range toward 18.3. All right, let's take a look now at crude oil. Crude oil is up about 0.5% right now inside day. The previous session ended up being a bearish outside day for much of the day until the late day bounce. So failed new high, took out the midpoint, and went to a new low. Still, you're seeing bulls defend the bullish Pima trigger zone here as this thing continues to trend up. The one thing about this right now is we're still sitting just below that 86 market structure, just a heavy area of resistance. And if price, again, can't get going to the upside soon, we may begin to see a rotation back down towards 76 before another attempt occurs. So right now, still in the uptrend, but price needs to start pushing back through 85.5, 86 in order to open up the next upside targets. 87.63 could be ahead, in addition to the 96 target right here, 96.03, which would be the 100% target of this impulse move right here. All right, let's take a look now at Bitcoin. Bitcoin currently down about 2%. Again, a very significant rejection day in the previous session, a huge meltdown. We got to a low here of 32,855s. Here's your gap fill zone right here, so you can bring this right across, and basically for all intents and purposes got into that day's range. And so a pretty significant move. We could see a little bit more. This may not be the low, but it's a strong enough low that could provide a bit of a bounce here back toward 40K. If it starts to push through 40K, you know, again, it opens up the upside. At the moment, again, with the recent sell-off that we've seen, do we get at least a midpoint, perhaps a key range test down the road? We could still be looking at a test down here at some point down the road, but as of right now, strong enough midpoint right here to be able to hold for a bounce ahead. Can we get back toward 40K, say, over the next several days? That could certainly be in play. Again, yesterday's midpoint is going to be very important. That's 35,228. At the moment, any pullback into that zone, responsive bulls want to defend for a shot at pushing this thing back toward 40 for a retest from below. Taking a look now at Ethereum. Ether futures here, you see a rejection tail as well. This is a significant move here. A big drop through that 2750 level that we talked about before. As it melted down Friday, here is Monday's range where it drops hard and then finds a way to bounce. And that impulsive move from here to here could give us our next key range. So we could be looking at a bounce back up toward 2750 and perhaps even beyond. Again, we may see a little bit more downside ahead. You have your composite value area low here at 2134.90. You also have your quarterly low here, and the previous year's low at 1371. So anything in this lower edge could be a tremendous buying opportunity for return to value and across the range toward 5,000 across the road. But as of right now, strong enough low for maybe a bounce back toward 2750 and perhaps a test into that midpoint just beyond it to solidify that key range. Again, yesterday's midpoint is going to be very important here. Any failure to hold that midpoint, which is 2354.5, by the end of the day on a closing basis could suggest much more weakness ahead. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.